This documentary contains a fictionalized reconstruction inspired by historical events. Some names, figures, and details have been dramatized for investigative storytelling purposes. At exactly 3:03 a.m., a mail train slicing through the English countryside came to a sudden, unnatural stop. The signal ahead glowed red. The driver eased the brakes, routine, instinctive. Red means danger. Red means stop. Red means trust the system. But that trust was the door the thieves needed. Because what he didn't know was that the signal was fake. And what the world didn't know was that this train wasn't carrying letters, but 50 million pounds in unmarked cash. Money that, adjusted for modern value, would exceed 1.3 billion pounds. A traveling vault, silent, unprotected, and chosen. Within 15 minutes, the train would be empty. The countryside would be silent, and one of the boldest robberies in history would slip into motion with surgical precision. This is not just a story about stolen money. This is a story about planning, greed, betrayal, and a fortune that evaporated into the shadows, never recovered. In the early 1960s, Britain moved massive sums of currency by rail. No armored cars, no formal escorts, no public record of each shipment, just steel tracks and trust. Every night, mail trains transported cash from regional banks to London. Routine, predictable, hidden in plain sight. But on one August night in 1963, something changed. A specially routed train left its origin carrying more than 50 million pounds, bundled tightly, untraceable, undocumented. The route was altered. The schedule classified. Security protocols shifted. Only a handful of insiders knew the truth, but someone else knew too, and that knowledge didn't leak. It was delivered. Because somewhere along that quiet chain of secrecy, someone inside the system whispered to the wrong ear. And that whisper became a storm. This wasn't a reckless smash and grab. Investigators later realized the planning stretched across 18 long months. Meetings, surveillance, drills, calculations. The group behind the robbery was small, fewer than a dozen men, but each one was chosen with intent. One was a former railway technician. He understood signals better than most employees. Another had military logistics training. He could move people and assets like pieces on a chessboard. Another had studied train routing for years, unofficially, obsessively. They never met all together. They never stayed in one location too long. They used abandoned barns, temporary rentals, remote farmhouses. Their conversations were not casual. Every word was deliberate. Their goal wasn't speed, it was perfection. They studied guard rotations, train schedules, weight distribution of loaded carriages, the time the driver took to respond to signal changes, and the weakest point in an otherwise bulletproof routine. Most importantly, they learned how to stop a train without triggering alarms. The solution was brutally simple. A red light. Not just any red light. A perfect clone of the railway's own signal. Fool the eye. Force the stop. Control the night. Railway signals are sacred. Red means danger. Red means halt, without argument. And that absolute trust was the thieves' greatest weapon. On that night, they installed a hand-constructed signal lamp, perfectly calibrated, positioned exactly where the driver would expect one, painted to match the real design down to its metal rivets. No alarm triggered, no emergency call initiated. Nothing in the system recognized the trap. The driver slowed, the train stopped, and the countryside held its breath. From the darkness filled with damp air and grass frost, masked men emerged with quiet precision. They didn't yell, they didn't threaten, they didn't break formation. They moved like a team that had rehearsed every second. This wasn't chaos, this was choreography, a symphony of silence. The thieves knew exactly which carriage held the money, not by luck, but through inside information. Canvas bags filled with currency, stacked tightly, marked only by weight, lay waiting. No tools were dropped, no fingerprints left, no unnecessary conversation. The only words spoken were functional. Next bag, move, load. Everything else had already been said during months of planning. The entire operation took less than 15 minutes. 15 minutes to empty a fortune. 15 minutes to rewrite criminal history. 15 minutes for a ghost operation to become legend. Waiting vehicles were hidden beyond the embankment, engine off, lights covered, interiors stripped to maximize space. Bag after bag was transferred silently. When the last bag was loaded, the men vanished with the night. The train remained untouched, still, silent, and suddenly, priceless for the wrong reason. By sunrise, the robbery exploded across Britain. Roadblocks appeared on every major route. Police units swarmed rail lines and farmlands. Ports and airports tightened checks. But investigators faced a nightmare. The money had no serial trail, no tracking, no registry. It was the perfect currency to vanish. Some suspects were captured weeks later, men connected by rumor, past crimes, or the whispers of nervous informants. A few went to trial. Some were convicted, but the numbers never matched. Only a sliver of the stolen cash was ever found. The rest, theories spread like wildfire, laundered through offshore banks, smuggled into foreign markets, converted to gold, buried on rural land, or quietly invested under false identities. One detective admitted years later, "We caught faces, not the fortune." Several suspected planners were never charged. Some left the country before investigators even realized who they were. Some slipped into new identities with forged paperwork that was never traced. Others simply disappeared between borders, ghosts with a million reasons to stay hidden. Rumors spread faster than facts. One man was said to have fled to South America. Another supposedly lived comfortably in Spain for decades under a false name. One allegedly died with secrets he refused to give up, not even on his deathbed. Treasure hunters still roam the countryside, searching old farm properties, former gang meeting spots, forest patches along disused rail lines, and abandoned barns. But nothing confirmed has ever surfaced. Just whispers, just stories, just shadows. More than 60 years later, the Great Train Robbery remains a puzzle wrapped in myth. Who truly orchestrated it? How deep did the inside connections go? How many officials looked the other way, or took a share? And the most haunting question, where is the missing £1.3 billion in today's value? Was it spent quietly across decades, piece by piece? Or does a forgotten stash still lie buried beneath rural soil? One fake signal, one silent train, one fortune that became smoke. History remembers the arrests, but it never found the money, and maybe it never will. Subscribe to Criminal Verse, where every crime hides a story.